Hi and welcome to our latest Platform Insight interview. I'm delighted to be joined today by Sophie Parker from Pure Data Centres. Sophie is Head of People Development and Talent Acquisition. I have Jim Hart, the co-founder and CEO of the BCS consultancy, and Holly Fenner, who is Head of Marketing Communications at Gen+1. And the topic for today is about attracting a younger workforce into our data centre and digital infrastructure industry. Not from just the purely altruistic viewpoint, though obviously that's really important, but also from the investor and the value of a company perspective. So as far as the industry is concerned at the moment, attracting younger talent isn't just a workforce issue, it's actually a long-term financial strategy. So I'm going to ask my guests for today to introduce themselves and their companies very briefly, and then we will go into a discussion as to how we can actually help to solve the workforce crisis that is impacting on our industry's growth at the moment. So, over to Holly.
So Gen+1 is a professional community based around supporting the younger generation and early emerging talent that want to enter the data centre industry, but also to get them there as well.
Fantastic. Jim?
I'm CEO of BCS, the Global Data Centre Consultancy. We provide land intelligence, delivery intelligence, and consultant advisory services to data centre developers and end users.
Fantastic. And over to Sophie.
So I work for Pure Data Centres Group. We design, develop and operate data centres globally.
Fantastic. So all three of you come at this from a very, very different perspective. Obviously with Pure Data Centres from the operator perspective, from the consultancy and from the support network that is there to try and make sure that we're actually attractive to that younger generation rather than us just saying, you know, come and work for us. I don't think we still have the PR drive that maybe is there, but we'll come on to that in a second. So first of all, why do we need to think about this younger generation coming into our industry, an industry that is very traditional, very staid, still only has less than 2% female, for example, and is currently, for the most part, populated by a plus 40-year-old workforce? So let's start with Holly.
I think basically there's a massive gap. There's a skills shortage. There's something really key that's missing, that we're not finding the people that need to come in to fill that gap. But why are we not finding them? What do they look like? And do they even know that this industry exists, basically?
And do you think they know? Are we making headway in actually letting people know about the industry and making it attractive as a career path?
There you go. They either don't know, or what they know potentially might be putting them off. Is there maybe something in the middle that where the communication is getting lost, or is it that the bad press is not doing us any favours? Yeah.
So, Sophie, from the and obviously within your role, you're responsible for your entire organisation for actually ensuring that this works. Are you finding the same thing that Holly's talking about there, that there's just a lack of awareness or a lack of interest?
I think there is the lack of awareness of what it is that we do and the variety of roles and how interesting it is. And there's the risk, as you say, of the industry greying out. If we don't start to see that as a real business risk, then we've got a problem. I think this is sometimes seen as a bit of a fluffy, people-based subject, but actually this is about business stability and the ability to keep scaling. We need to fill that gap so when people retire, we can continue to operate and continue to grow and have that corporate knowledge shared across, not just a whole new bank of people that we have to find at the last minute.
And Jim, obviously you're working across a whole range of organisations within this sector. What are your thoughts on this from that holistic overview?
If we go back to basics, there are projections which say that by 2030 we're going to need something like 2.8 million full-time equivalents in the industry to deliver what we know about. Yeah. If we look at the trajectory of new talent coming into that industry at the current rate, we're going to have about 2.2 million full-time equivalents. Data centre growth is going to go at a factor of about 3, talent coming in, factor of about 1.3. So straight away there's a massive gap there. And if we don't address that, then we're always going to be chasing. And the capacity issue is always going to be there, and we'll always be chasing that. So we need to invest in young people coming in with new ideas, fresh ideas, You said earlier on that it's a growing industry. Absolutely. We've been incredibly conservative. I've been in this industry 25 years, and I've probably seen the most change in the last 3 to 5 years. And that change is actually accelerating. And if you also look at kind of the whys of that demographic, so I think we're still suffering from kind of that 2008 crash where we lost a lot of people from the industry. We're missing that middle tier. So we are having the issue with retirements. We're losing a lot of experience from the industry, so it's incumbent on us now to recognise that and actually encourage people to come through. And we've got to look at the whole demographic. We've got to look at the various routes that we get people into this industry. We can't go down the traditional route. You've got a degree, come on, let's this training path. Now, I started as an apprentice and I'm passionate about that. I think it's brilliant. 15% of our workforce are either apprentices or graduate apprentices. It's something we really strongly believe in, but it's about all people from different backgrounds and making themselves attractive. And if you look at that PR angle, I was harangued by a 14-year-old in a school fair last year about water usage in data centres. Okay? Now, where he got his data from, God only knows, but he switched on, give him that. But it's data that's 5 years old. Technology's moved on. The strides we're making in making this a sustainable industry far outpace any other than the energy intensive industries that we're competing against. So we've got to get that out there. We've got to get that message out there. And to Holly's point, the range of career paths we now have in this industry is fundamentally changed massively since I joined.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point, that one, because we've swapped one problem for another. The problem, again, since the 90s, since it became an industry as such, I've been involved in all of this. And the problem for nearly 2 decades was that nobody knew what it was and it just didn't sound very interesting. We've switched almost overnight to lots of younger people knowing about the industry, but like you said, I've had the same with my children. Oh, your industry is destroying our planet. Well, here, actually have a read of this, and by the way, if you're worried about that, switch your phone off and start using ChatGPT. So we've gone from this nobody knowing who we are to all of a sudden it's headline grabbing, but it's been picking up on the ESG because, all the research shows that the generations coming up after ours are far more conscious of sustainability. That's fantastic. But we've suddenly got this reputation that goes against that. So, and I don't think that's something that the industry has really thought about addressing from the talent perspective as opposed to the overall industry perspective. Do you find, Sophie, that, if you're hiring or you're interviewing or putting things out, that comes up during those conversations?
I think there's always generational differences in what drives people to want to do certain roles and the things that are important to them. Sustainability is definitely something that is more interesting to younger generations, much more front of mind. But I also think we need to consider the other side of that, which is they live in a digital world, have always lived in a digital world, and we, as data center companies, are the heart of that. And that's the narrative I think we forget to push. We end up answering questions about how we operate. Well, do you want to have the internet and do you want to live in a digital world? Then this is how we go about doing it. Come and learn and understand more, be a part of that. But with that, I think you also have, that sustainability awareness that comes with younger generations. There's also an innovation element that we can use as employers. Find out what do they think about it? What other ideas have they got, and let them be part of the conversation. By having a real mixture of generations across workforces, I think that allows for those sorts of conversations.
Definitely, and lots of the research I've been doing shows that actually by getting people in, that can actually help that ESG piece because they come in with fresh ideas and it's not the same old mindset. Jim, any comments on that?
The thing we've got to get away from is, this energy guzzling water intensive industry. So we're not even in the top 10 industries water usage. We're not even in the top 10 industries of electricity usage, but we're making ourselves easy targets by not educating people. Golf courses use more water than data centres. Okay, it's a fact. The clothes that we wear take more water than data centres, and so on and so forth. So we've really got to get out there and change the narrative around it. It's no point in arguing because it's just creating polarised views. We see that in today's society. So we've got to go out and educate. One of the things that we don't really major on is actually, you talk about governance, about inclusivity, levelling up, but data centres have probably done more than anything in order to do that. They've opened up healthcare, they've opened up education, access to finance, access to public services that is far more demographic and democratic than anything that any government's done. And we don't let people know that it's the heart and soul of society today. Without it, we don't exist. It just doesn't
That's
happen.
pen and paper.
Yeah, exactly.
And filing systems.
Yeah, no, exactly.
And we can remember those.
Oh, and we're the last
We don't
generation.
go back there.
But we're the last generation. We've straddled this analog and digital age, and I know which one I'd rather be in.
Absolutely.
You know, so we've just got to get out there. We've got to get the word out. We've got to educate.
So Holly, right, so you deal with the younger people all the time, right? And like we can all talk about it. Do you think there's an angle there for actually making this more attractive by the role that younger people coming into the industry can actually play in enabling those ESG and those sustainability efforts? Is that an angle that we can maybe take to make the sector more attractive?
I think absolutely. I think that is probably your key to it. I suppose if you're gonna, why would a young person listen to somebody that's near retirement, been working in tech for so long, but has, I mean, there's always that generational friction between, well, you don't care about the environment because you've done X, Y, Z. You haven't set us up for the future and you haven't enabled us to, you know, live freely. But you know, to add to Jim's point, we have gone out there. Gen+1 have actually been on the streets. We've asked the general public, what is a data centre? Do you use the cloud? Do you use AI? How often? You know, you get answers such as, I actually love the cloud, it's really good. I use it because I don't want to use data centres because they're really bad for the environment. And there is just such a lack of education, as you're saying, but potentially, where are they going to, who are they going to listen to? Is it going to be told by adult, you know, children don't want to be told by adults, or young early careers professionals don't want to be told what they should do with their future. They need to find out by themselves.
It's by your parents, isn't it, that this is what you should be doing?
And the facts that they probably are finding out are maybe through Instagram or TikTok in that fast pace, quick facts. Oh yeah, I saw something about that last night when I was scrolling. Yeah, but did you take the time to actually look at it? Because there are some young people, or maybe not even necessarily young, in comments defending data centres, going, no, that's not necessarily true. Did you know golf courses use more water? But there is just, you're right, it's like a battle between the people that actually know and the people that think they know and have just made up their mind.
Yeah. And I say it's quite weird, having been in this industry for so long, to have gone from being under the radar and everyone you spoke to about is, what do you do? And you'd be like, well, I'm in this funny little sector. Well, what's a data centre?
But that's part of the issue, is the fact that the industry has been bought upon secrecy. So I go back to the days where you signed personal NDAs. You couldn't talk about the projects you were working on, not even to your family, on pain of death, your house being burned down, or God knows else what. And we're now coming out into the sunlight, and it's totally alien to us. And we've got to admit that. We've got to hold our hands up and say, it is not my demographic that's going to make this change. It's the apprentices and this younger generation coming through. Now, I saw a few things the other day. Some of our apprentices describe in one word the industry you're coming to. Now, bearing in mind, they knew nothing about the industry before they came in. There's things like life-changing, opportunity. These are the things that we've got to get out there, I believe, in order that we're going to change that perspective and really start getting the younger generation really interested, because it directly affects them. You know, this is the second industrial revolution. They are absolutely on the cusp of this, and it's within their grasp to have an influence and make change.
I think it was interesting you used the word influence, because in a world growing up on tech that just see everything online first, maybe, to see a positive influence, or somebody that's out there physically doing it, or a first-hand experience, day in the life of an engineer, day in the life of an electrical apprentice, and then not even those, you know, craft or technical skills, but any of those things that actually put a real life picture for you. You know, that's not going to look bad, is it? It's going to look fun.
And that's what you need. It's that old adage, if you don't see it, then you can't be it. Yeah. And if previously you weren't talking about it, Jim, then how did people know that was an option? I think we have to do what you are brilliant at doing, Holly, which is getting out there and telling people this is actually what it is, and this is what it means in real terms. You don't have to be the most technical person. You don't have to want to be an engineer. We are all part of doing something really cool that drives the world that you enjoy living in.
And that's representation across job roles as well, isn't it? That doesn't mean you have to follow an apprenticeship route. It doesn't mean you have to be technical, but it could be, you know, if you like planning your friends' weekends away, you could be a project manager. Like, it's as simple as that. There's transferable skills there.
Oh, I love that. I love the way you've just put that as well. I mean, I spent several years accidentally in academia, so I was fortunate enough to be working with people that and kept me young as well, and seeing all those different opinions and seeing all those different things. And I made a point of getting data centres into everything. So I've got a whole generation. I've actually got 5 of my former students who now work in our industry that they'd never heard of it before. But it's that relatability that you've just managed to sum up in one sentence. I think part of the problem that your organisation does a fabulous job. You're talking to people there, people within the HR of the operators that doing bringing on apprenticeships. I don't think there is enough notice taken at board level and investor level of what is going on. They'll talk about the energy risk, they'll talk about lack of resources or planning or any of those risks to the business model that are very, very in the front headlines, you know, for the public as well as within the companies. But they don't talk about something that I think is one of the major blockers, as you spoke, Jim, about at the beginning of all of this, that if we don't start to see those pipelines coming up, it's not just about replacing people that are retiring, it's also about the innovation, the impact on the business from sustainability. And I think if the board level and the investor community that are obviously fueling this whole thing started to actually put a bit more effort in and take this seriously as a potential risk or a potential opportunity, we'd actually get a lot further, because at the moment it's left to individual people within organisations and individual organisations like Gen Plus One. Anyone?
All businesses overlook having a talent risk register. We don't look at talent and people in the same way we do other risks in the business. I'm speaking generally. Obviously people will have them, but I don't think it's as common that we address those concerns of what is our workforce planning requirement over the next 5 to 10 years? Where are we going to have a retirement risk? What skills are held within that area of the business? And how do we start distilling that knowledge now so that it's very proactive? We can fall into a trap of being very reactive when we think about talent risk. But really it is a long-term planning and can be and should be viewed in the same way. Yeah, exactly. It's so much cheaper to retain that knowledge than it is to go out and hire new people. That's another area I think that we don't routinely focus on. We always have somebody in a business who's highly focused on attracting the new world-class talent, but how much time and investment and focus do we put into keeping them there? Particularly for young people, that we find them, we entice them. If we don't create those career pathways, if they're not on a formal apprenticeship programme, it's much easier for them to move around, and that creates, you know, investment risk. But it doesn't need to. There's a lot of things that can be done.
And they are moving around more. You know, some people aren't staying in that job for 20 plus years, getting their retirement package. That's not like a common denominator anymore. That's not the one path. You find a job, great, that's it, done for life. Young people are moving around. They're keen to even move sideways, different roles, different type of job. They also are looking for different things. It's not job title, salary. It's work-life balance, flexibility, enjoying what I do, making a difference, making an impact. There are so many factors that young people and other people already in their roles are now looking for just to stay happy.
Okay. But I think there's a problem with, and again, it's headlines, a bit like we suffer from, you know, Gen Z, you know, they want this work-life balance. Well, we had to work 80-hour weeks, you know.
The issue there is that we're looking at the world through our eyes, and the world's moved on. Yeah. We have to admit that. And one of the challenges I face running the consultancy is that who am I running this consultancy for? Is it my demographic, my age? No, it's not actually. It's about what's coming through. It's about the technology that's coming through that's going to benefit the generations that are coming through behind me. And they think differently. They act differently. Now we can talk about entitlement, we can talk about whatever. And it was different. And I'll guarantee you, the old boy that I was given to as an apprentice thought exactly the same about me. You know? And it's just a passing of the torch. But one of the things that I find really, really refreshing, and one of the things that we absolutely try to do is it gives our people a voice. Yeah. So they can challenge, they can ask. And actually what that does, it makes me think. it makes me get out of my little box and say, well, yes, the world is a different place, and actually we should be planning for something different. Now, work-life balance, all that kind of good stuff, that's why we set BCS up. Absolutely to achieve that, because we found that you get the best out of people when they are happy, when they are rooted, when they can see they're making a difference, they're making a change. Not everybody, but most. You know, you still get the people that want to come in at 9, go away at 5, just do a job. That's absolutely fine. But it's about understanding the fact that what you're now doing, it's not a job for life, but you're helping people to get to where they need to get to. And if they go on that next journey, they leave you, you handshake, you have a hug, you wish them well, but they go with good memories. Now, we've got a number of people that have left our business and now our clients. All right? And I've got a number of apprentices that started out with back in the days when I was a partner at EC Harris that are now our clients.
They're very lucky because they have a CEO that, you know, has founded this company and is running the company that understands this and is supportive of it. I would say that is the minority from that senior level perspective.
But it has to start somewhere. It has to start somewhere, otherwise growth is going to be stifled.
But I think it needs to start from that top level, and I think that's why we've been having these conversations for the last 7-8 years and nothing really changes. I said you've got the organisations that are promoting this and putting lots of effort into it and doing fabulous work, but until it starts actually reaching that top layer and some interest going into it, and the only way to do that is to start demonstrating to investors that are, whether it's equity investment, whether it's debt financing, actually when you're doing your due diligence, you need to see what the plan is for getting talent into the business. You need to see what the plans of the board level are.
So just on that point,
this.
and your point about retaining people, okay? So this is our 10th anniversary. We're now 200 plus people strong, okay? We've had 5 people throughout that 10 years leave this business. 5. Okay? Now, we've exited a few that didn't quite make it in terms of the probationary periods, but people that have left of their own free will, gone on to other jobs, is 5 people. But that's what happens when you listen. And you don't have to be this woke, soft, you know, you can have the tough conversations
Doesn't need
as well.
to be beanbags all over the office.
No. But it's about treating people as adults who have their own minds. You know, I really don't care how much time people spend in the office. It's about outputs. It's about clients. Are they happy with the output? You know? And that's the type of atmosphere we try and engender and build on. And it's worked for us. So in terms of that return on investment, you know, the proof's in the pudding for us.
Yeah. I will add to your point, because BCS do a fantastic job, and anytime you see them at events and you do bring them along to events, they're not just stuck in the offices and the seniors are out doing all the having all those big conversations. They are there with you and you do bring them along, and it's brilliant. There are companies, on the other hand, where even given that opportunity, potentially come through our database and I say, oh, I've got free tickets, you can come as part of our community, and their company still says no.
I've had it from mine where we've been mentoring people and their company, not only have they said no, well, if there's a free ticket for that, it needs to go to somebody senior.
But also, it's not about cost. They just don't want them there. Yeah, it's trust.
And again, that's why I think this needs to filter down, as BCS have done a brilliant job of doing, from the top down.
This is how much money you save. The amount of money you will have saved by not having to fill 5 roles a month because people aren't leaving will be vast. And the way that you allow people to have a voice means that they feel listened to, so they'll stay. So again, you're retaining them. There's a huge cost association here that we don't look at and we don't measure. And I think that's why we need to imagine, well, not necessarily imagine, we just need to look at the stark differences between places people want to be, how are they growing, how are they innovating, versus those places that they're shutting people down, they're not inviting people in, they're not giving them the space to develop, so people are immediately leaving. The cost, analysis
enormous.
there will be huge.
Yeah.
But from a business point of view, what it allows us to do is scale rather than stand still backfilling.
And that's what I worry about with some companies, and very, very well-established companies, particularly in the UK at the moment, is when you look at what they're doing, yes, I said the energy problems, everything else, but it's not sustainable from that scalability in terms of just the manpower.
Well, we've got to do something different. As an industry as a whole, we've got to do something different. So one of the conversations I have quite often with clients is, bring people in from other industries. We want different ideas, we want fresh things. I say, right, fantastic. I'll do that, put them in front of them. Yeah, but they've got no data center experience, have they? Now that is starting to shift, and it has to, absolutely has to. Because, the stats I said earlier in terms of that gap that is coming, it's here and it's growing. We've got to learn from other industries. We've got to do things differently. We've got to collaborate. We've got to do more with less. So, people can talk to me about AI and all this kind of stuff, and it sounds absolutely brilliant. I haven't got a clue. But the younger people in the business absolutely on it and know it and understand it. And as I say, they are the ones that are going to pioneer this. They are going to change their own roles. And it's giving them the voice, the room, to actually develop that. Now, we can't have them all going off just playing on toys and whatever. We do put a framework around it. But nevertheless, some of the things that we've done that have come into the business, not from the board being really, really clever, but some of those just coming up to say, right, I've seen this or I've seen that. What do you think? Yeah. And that's the way we're going to grow. We're going to have to adopt new ways of working. I talk about collaboration. I heard and have heard that kind of there are delivery routes coming in. Well, actually, it's going to compound the issue because it takes man on man marking, which is a retrograde step. Yeah. So we've got to be adult. We've got to be big about this and understand the fact that we've just got to change the ways we work.
I'm a great believer. I mean, sustainability was on the agenda for people in charge of sustainability. It wasn't on the financial people's or the board level's agenda until it became a financial problem or issue or opportunity. And I think we need to take the same approach with this, that actually if we take this as a financial risk versus reward perspective, as opposed to we just need new people in and we're all fluffy and let's give them all beanbags, it will start to filter down and actually have a huge impact across the industry. So we're about to wrap up, and what I'd like is just a comment to anyone who is on the investor side or on the board level of any of the operator communities out there, what you would like them to take away from this today.
There are so many things that I could say. Consider how you want to grow and how you want your business to continue innovating. You have to shift something. And by focusing on those individuals, whether they are young talent coming in or your existing team and giving them the voice, that is how you're going to be able to continue to grow in the pace that we all want to grow and need to grow in this industry.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sophie. Jim?
Become evangelists for the industry. Get the message out there. Just show people how attractive we are. And then once the people come in, invest, develop, retain. Give them a safe space where they can make mistakes, because that's how we learn, and let them grow, let them challenge, let them speak.
Sorry, that's a brilliant strap line for somebody, isn't it? Invest, develop, retain. I'm going to write that down when we finish this. And Holly?
Yeah, basically the same, isn't it? Invest in your people, happy people, bigger output. There's so much to gain from doing that.
Absolutely. And from my perspective, last roundup, it's that, from the financial perspective of this isn't just attract young professionals to be fluffy and it's a nice to have. It's not a social initiative anymore. It's actually a long-term capital and value creation strategy. So thank you very much to Sophie, Jim and Holly. It's been a delight to sit down with you all. And let's see where we are in the next 12 months. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicola.
Thank you.